The last text my dad ever sent me said, "Stay away. Your sister doesn't want drama." I read it 3 times, like the words might change if I stared hard enough. 2 weeks later, I was sitting under studio lights with a microphone clipped to my shirt, telling the truth on live television. End somewhere across town. My father saw my face on his screen and realized the drama he'd warned me about was actually a lie he helped bury. I'm Scarlett, and the night my dad sent that text, I was standing in my tiny kitchen with a mug of instant coffee I didn't even want. My hands were shaking so badly, the spoon clinked against the ceramic like a quiet alarm. I hadn't heard from him in months, not since my mom's birthday, the first one after she died. When I called and he let it ring until voicemail. So, when my phone buzzed and I saw Dad, something in me lifted before it fell. "Dad, stay away. Your sister doesn't want drama. Let it go." No, hi, Scarlett. No, are you okay? Not even an explanation. I typed back with my thumbs frozen halfway. Me, what drama? I'm just asking why you cut me off. I'm trying to understand. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then nothing. I stared at my phone until the screen went dark. Then I sat down on the kitchen floor like my body had forgotten how to hold itself up. Because the truth was, I did know what drama meant. It meant Emily, my sister Emily, had been the sun in my father's sky since we were little. She was the strata kid with the perfect hair and the smile that melted teachers. I was the one with scraped knees and opinions, the one who asked too many questions and cried too loudly when something hurt. Growing up, I learned an early rule in our house. Emily's version of events was always the official version. If Emily said I started the fight, I started it even if she'd pushed me first. If Emily said I was being difficult, Dad would sigh like I was a problem that wouldn't stop existing. And when Mom got sick, that dynamic didn't change. It sharpened. Mom had breast cancer that came back angry and fast. The last year of her life blurred into chemo days and hospital nights. I moved home for 3 months and practically lived in the oncology wing. I learned how to untangle 4 tubes, how to read the nurses' faces, how to swallow panic until I could breathe again. Emily came to dash sometimes. She took pictures. Not of Mom, exactly, of herself in the hospital bathroom mirror, hair flipped over her shoulder, captioned with things like, "Hard day, but we're staying strong." And Dad shared them. He'd comment, "My brave girl," under Emily's posts, and I'd watch from the side like I wasn't also there, holding Mom's hand at 3 a.m., whispering stories so she wouldn't be afraid. The day Mom died, Emily cried into Dad's chest. I cried into my own hands. And 2 weeks later, Emily announced she was taking care of Mom's affairs because she understood the paperwork better. Dad let her. I didn't fight it at first. Grief makes you quiet. It makes you second-guess the right you have to take up space. But then, a month later, I went to the bank to ask about closing Mom's small savings account, just enough to cover the remaining medical bills, and the teller's face changed the second she looked up the file. "Sorry," she said carefully. "This account was closed already." My mouth went dry. Closed? By who? The teller glanced at her screen. "You're Emily Harper." That name hit me like a shove. "Is there a signature?" I asked. She hesitated, then slid a printed page across the counter. "I'm not sure I'm allowed to." I didn't let her finish. I stared down at the paper and saw my mother's name written in a shaky cursive. But something was wrong. Mom's handwriting had been neat. "Even dying," she wrote with careful loops, as if keeping control of letters meant keeping control of life. This signature looked like someone had copied it from memory. I felt my stomach drop so hard it was like my body was hollow. I left the bank in a fog, got into my car, and sat in the parking lot until my hands stopped shaking enough to dial my sister. Emily answered on the 3rd ring, cheerful, like the world hadn't been rearranged. "Hey Scar, what's up?" I couldn't even pretend. "Did you close Mom's account?" A pause. "Oh, Dad and I handled that, without telling me." "Scarlett," she sighed, the way she always did when she wanted to sound like the calm adult. "You're emotional right now. I didn't want to overwhelm you." I laughed once, sharp and ugly. "Emotional, Emily, the bank says Mom's signature was used." Another pause, longer this time. When she spoke again, her voice was cold. "Are you accusing me of something?" "I'm asking you," I said, forcing my voice steady. "Did Mom sign it?" Emily exhaled, and I could picture her rolling her eyes. "This is exactly what Dad means by drama." "What did you do?" I whispered. "Mom wanted things simple," she said, "and she trusted me." Mom trusted both of us. I said. Why would she hide it from me? Emily's tone sharpened. Because you're unpredictable. You always make things harder. I gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles ached. Put Dad on. Dad's busy. Put him on. Emily. I heard her cover the phone, muffled voices in the background. Then Dad's voice came through, already exhausted. Scarlett, what is it now? I swallowed. Dad, did Mom sign paperwork to close her account? Silence. Not confused silence, not searching silence, the kind of silence that has a decision inside it. Then he said, Emily told me you've been spiraling. My throat burned. That's not an answer. Your mother is gone, he snapped, emotion flashing in his tone. Do you want to rip apart what's left of this family too? I stared at the windshield, the sky too bright for how dark I felt. Dad, I think Emily forged her signature. His response was instant, like he'd rehearsed it. Your sister would never do that. Dad, I said enough. He barked. Stop it. You always need someone to blame. The word always landed on me like a stamp dot. Always difficult. Always too much. Always the problem. I'm not blaming, I said, voice shaking now. I'm telling you what I saw. Stay away, he said, suddenly quieter, more final. Your sister doesn't want drama. And then he hung up. That was the moment something in me broke, not loudly, not dramatically, more like a bone snapping under pressure you didn't notice building. I could have screamed. I could have driven to their house and pounded on the door until my knuckles bled. Instead, I did something I'd never really done before. I got quiet. I started taking screenshots, saving every message, writing down every date and detail I could remember about Mom's accounts, her policies, the conversations Emily handled. I requested copies of documents from every place I could. The bank wouldn't give me much without legal authority, but they gave me enough to confirm what my gut already knew. The signature on the closure form didn't match my mother's known samples, and the withdrawal, it wasn't even used for medical bills. It was transferred to another account, an account with Emily's name on it. When I brought this information to Dad in person after driving to his house and standing on his porch like a stranger, he didn't even invite me inside. He crossed his arms and stared down at me, the way you stare at a storm you can't control. You're still on this, he said, like I'd brought up an old argument about chores. I held out the folder. Dad, look at this, please. Just look. He didn't take it. You're trying to ruin your sister's life, he said. My sister ruined Mom's wishes. I shot back, my voice cracking. And you're helping her. His jaw tightened. Emily is grieving too. So am I shouted. And that's when the neighbor's dog started barking next door. Dad's eyes flicked toward the house, as if he was afraid Emily would hear the truth echoing. And then he said something I'll never forget. Your mother would be ashamed of you. I went still, my entire body. Because my mother, the woman who braided my hair and kissed my scraped knees, who told me I was strong in the way that matters, would never have been ashamed of me for protecting her. Dad used her like a weapon anyway. I left without another word. That night, I sat at my laptop and stared at the folder of evidence like it was a door I didn't want to open. I knew if I went the legal route, Dad and Emily would treat it like a war declaration. But I also knew silence was how Emily won. So I did something else. I contacted a local investigative journalist, not because I wanted to be famous, not because I wanted pity, because I wanted the truth to have a place to stand where my father couldn't shove it back into the shadows. Her name was Dana Brooks, and she worked for a regional news station that did long-form segments on consumer fraud, elder financial abuse, and family scams. When she called me back, her voice was calm and sharp. Scarlett, can you tell me exactly what happened? So I did. I told her about my mother's illness, about the signatures, about the transfer, about my father refusing to look. Dana didn't gasp or judge or get dramatic. She asked questions, real questions. Do you have documents? Do you have examples of your mother's handwriting? Has your sister done anything similar before? Were there any witnesses to conversations about your mother's finances? I answered everything, and when I didn't know, I said so. After 2 weeks of digging, Dana called me again. We have enough to run this, she said, but I want to warn you, if we go public, your family will retaliate. I almost laughed. They already did. They erased me. A pause. Okay, she said. Then we do it carefully. That's the part people don't understand about revenge. It's not always a dramatic montage with lipstick and high heels and a perfectly timed slap. Sometimes revenge is paperwork. Patience. Doing things the right way when everyone around you wants you to fold. For the next month, I lived in a state of tight, controlled pressure. I went to work, smiled at coworkers, answered emails like I wasn't carrying a secret earthquake inside my chest. At night, I compiled printed copies, annotated screenshots. I recorded myself reading my own notes so I wouldn't forget anything under stress. The hardest part wasn't the planning. The hardest part was the doubt. What if Dad was right? What if I really was too much? What if going public made me the villain? Then I'd remember my mother's signature poorly copied, forced into a lie, and the doubt hardened into something else. Resolve. The day of the interview, Dana met me outside the studio. She handed me a water bottle and looked me in the eye. Once you start, don't apologize, she said. Tell the truth like it's the most normal thing in the world. Inside, the makeup artist dusted powder on my face, like she could soften the bruises you couldn't see. I sat in a chair under bright lights while producers adjusted microphones and counted down. My heart beat so hard it felt like it was trying to get out of my ribs. Then the host smiled, the camera light blinked on, and Dana's voice introduced my story. Tonight, we're looking at a case that's becoming more common than people realize: family, financial abuse, and a daughter who refused to stay silent. I swallowed and looked into the camera. I'm Scarlett Harper, I began, my voice steadier than I felt, and I think my sister stole from my dying mother. The studio went silent in the way a room does when everyone leans forward. I laid out the timeline, the bank, the signature, the transfer, my father refusing to look at evidence, the text. Dana showed the blurred documents on screen, the signature comparisons, the expert commentary about handwriting inconsistencies. And then came the part one. Didn't expect. Dana turned slightly toward me. Scarlett, we reached out to your sister, Emily Harper, for comment. My breath caught. She declined an on-camera interview, Dana continued, but she provided a statement through her attorney. My fingers curled in my lap. Dana read it aloud. Carefully, Emily Harper denies all allegations and claims her sister, Scarlett Harper, is attempting to exploit a family tragedy for attention. The words hit like a slap. For a second, the old Scarlett, the one who wanted approval, the one who tried to be easy, almost crumpled. Then, I remembered my father's porch, the shame he tried to plant in me. I lifted my chin. I didn't ask for attention, I said quietly. I asked for my mother's wishes to be respected. If the truth looks ugly, it's not because I'm speaking it. It's because it happened. Dana nodded, letting the silence do the work, and then she said, we also reached out to your father, Michael Harper. My stomach twisted. He responded. Dana's eyes softened. He did. She held up her tablet. He sent one sentence. My throat tightened. Dana read, Scarlett is troubled, and I asked the public to respect our privacy. The way he dismissed me again, a public platform, made my chest ache. But something strange happened. For the first time, he couldn't erase me with a closed door or a hang dash up. My name was on the screen, my face, my story, and the evidence spoke louder than his denial. The segment aired that night. I didn't watch it live. I couldn't. I sat on my couch staring at the wall, listening to the refrigerator hum like it was trying to comfort me. Then my phone began to buzz. Messages from cousins I hadn't heard from in years. Cousin Lauren. Scarlett, call me. I had no idea. Aunt Denise. I'm so sorry. Your mother would be proud. Old friend Tessa. I saw your interview. Are you okay? And then one message that made my whole body go cold. Dad, what have you done? I stared at it until the letters blurred. He didn't ask if I was okay. He didn't say he was wrong. He didn't ask if Emily did it. He asked what I'd done, like I was the criminal. I typed back slowly, each word chosen like a brick. Me. I told the truth, like you refused to. For a while, nothing. Then, 30 minutes later, another message from Dad. Dad, Emily is crying. She's saying you're ruining her life. I laughed softly, no joy in it, because now the roles had flipped. Emily had always used tears like currency. Dad always paid, but this time, there was a camera, documents, experts, public eyes, and Dad could no longer pretend it was just drama. The next morning, Dana called me. Scarlett, she said, I need to tell you something. After the segment aired, we received additional tips. My pulse quickened. From who? Several people, she said, including someone who used to work at the assisted living facility where your grandmother stayed briefly last year. My blood ran cold. My grandmother. Dana's voice was careful. They said your sister attempted to gain access to your grandmother's financial information too. It didn't go far because staff intervened, but it's a pattern. A pattern. That word felt like relief and horror tangled together, because it meant I wasn't crazy, I wasn't dramatic, I wasn't troubled. I was the only one willing to name what was happening. Within a week, the story grew, not viral from us, but enough for consequences to start creeping in. A legal aid organization reached out with resources. An attorney offered a consultation. The bank opened an internal review because their fraud department had received public pressure. And my dad finally asked to meet me. He suggested a quiet diner outside town, the kind of place with sticky menus and worn booths. I arrived early, hands clenched around a napkin, like it was the only thing keeping me anchored. When Dad walked in, he looked older than I remembered, not just grief-old, worn down old. He slid into the booth across from me and didn't meet my eyes. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then he said, "You humiliated us." The disappointment hit, but it didn't collapse me this time. It just confirmed something. "You humiliated Mom," I replied softly, "by letting her signature be used like a tool." His jaw tightened. "She said it was what Mom wanted," he muttered. I leaned forward. "Dad, look at me. Did you ever ask Mom? Did you ever hear it from her mouth?" His silence was the answer. I swallowed. "You didn't. You trusted Emily because it was easier than trusting me." His eyes finally lifted, and they were wet. "I didn't want to believe my daughter could do something like that." "I'm your daughter too," I said, my voice shaking but firm, "and you believed it about me instantly." That landed. I saw it hit him in the way his face tightened, then broke. For the first time in my life, my father looked like he didn't know how to protect the story he'd been telling himself. I thought, if I kept the peace, he whispered. "There was never peace," I said, "just silence." And silence protected Emily. He rubbed the hand over his face. "What do you want from me?" I let out a slow breath. This was the moment revenge stories usually crown with fireworks. But real life doesn't always give you a clean cinematic finish. "I want you to stop calling me the problem," I said. "I want you to admit you didn't listen, and I want you to help make it right." His throat bobbed. "How?" I slid the folder across the table, the same one he refused to touch on his porch. "This," I said. "You're going to look at it, all of it." He stared at the folder like it was a snake. Then, slowly, he opened it. I watched his eyes move over the pages, the signature comparisons, the transfer records, the timeline. His hands started to tremble, just slightly. When he looked up, his voice came out cracked. "Oh my God." I didn't gloat. I didn't smile. I just nodded, because the truth didn't need performance. "I'm not trying to destroy Emily," I said quietly. "I'm trying to protect Mom. Even now." Dad's eyes filled. I was wrong. 2 words. Not enough to undo years, but enough to prove I wasn't shouting into a void anymore. Over the next month, Dad did something I never thought I'd see. He stopped shielding Emily. He signed a statement for the bank's fraud investigation. He cooperated with the review. He agreed to mediation for the distribution of Mom's remaining assets. Emily, of course, didn't take it gracefully. She called me repeatedly until I blocked her number. She left voicemails crying, then angry, then threatening. "You're going to regret this," she hissed in one message. "You think you're some hero. You're just jealous. You always were." I listened to it once, then deleted it, because here's what I learned. When someone benefits from your silence, they will call your voice drama. I didn't need Emily's approval anymore. I didn't need Dad's permission to exist. I needed the truth. In the end, the bank confirmed irregularities. The internal review flagged forged signature indicators. Emily's account was frozen pending investigation. And the money was recovered enough to cover what should have been paid in the first place. No, she didn't go to prison, at least not immediately. Cases like this take time, and families bury things even when they shouldn't. But Emily lost something she always counted on: control of the narrative. And I gained something I hadn't felt in years: peace, not the fake peace Dad meant, that real peace, the kind that comes when you stop begging people to see you, and you start seeing yourself. One evening, weeks after the interview, Dad called me. His voice was small. "I'm sorry," he said, "for choosing the easier story instead of the true one." I closed my eyes, the ache still there, but softer around the edges. "I can't promise everything goes back," I told him, "but I can promise this. I'm not disappearing to make someone else comfortable again." he whispered. I understand. And for the first time, I believed he might. If you've ever been labeled dramatic, just for telling the truth, I want you to know you're not too much. Sometimes, you're just surrounded by people who benefit from you being quiet.